We watched Twilight New Moon, the sequel to that other film, Twilight, we watched.
Which was dog shit.
They go to the Cullens' house for a birthday celebration that she's not happy about because she's turned 18 and that means she's well old. She's worried about her age because obviously Edward, the 17-year-old vampire, doesn't age, and now she considers herself to be much, much older than him. She gets a paper cut.
I don't know what that thing was made out of. I mean, it might have been a razor that
yeah,
bit of paper
the way she
was
raised
made
her
out
finger,
of.
it was like they've wrapped that with razor blades.
Yeah, it's like they were baiting her into bleeding all over the bloody carpet.
It was quite a lot. Maybe she was just bursting out at the seams, because they're all so thirsty for her blood. Because there is a bit early on when they first meet each other, and they're like the horniest teenagers that definitely haven't fucked yet, and they're like like that as they're kissing in the car park. It's like, oh, this is weird. Like, you just imagine them dry humping and like, oh, just not being done. So fucking weird.
Did you realise until you saw that happening in this movie that you were of an age where that kind of thing would make you feel slightly uncomfortable? Or was it seeing it in this movie where you suddenly thought, oh no.
It's weird. I don't know if I would always think that way, or whether I would think that was just kind of hot back before I had sex. Which is the first bit of chemistry I've actually felt for them two.
Well, they were a couple, weren't they, by this point?
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, but they don't bring their personal life to the show. The film. No,
they didn't bring their personal life, but you'd expect if there's some chemistry, chemistry between them.
Nothing at all gets brought from home.
Which really is excellent acting.
It's fantastic. Edward really shows no emotion in this one.
In my notes for this, I kept referring to him as Deadwood.
To be honest, I think part of that is because Robert Pattinson realised very quickly that this wasn't the direction he wanted his career to go in. But had signed up for 5 movies. Jasper, the newest vegetarian in the group, loses his mind because obviously he gets a sniff of it. He makes to eat Bella, basically. She smashes through a table, gets a big cut on her arm. The whole family loses their mind. And then Edward decides that he and the family must leave.
There's no reason, I don't understand why Edward thinks the smartest idea for Bella to keep her safe is to leave her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was dumb. You've already dropped her in it, and there's some crazy vampire woman in the woods who's stalking her.
And then basically, Edward is gone for almost the entire runtime of the movie.
Yeah,
so he
just appears right near the last 20 minutes, half hour.
He does pop in with cameos.
Yeah. But this film is essentially, it sets up the kind of the other side of the weird love triangle between her, Edward and Jacob, which is where the whole thing around Team Edward and Team Jacob comes in with all kind of the tweenies that love it, or the twihards. That's what they're called, twihards.
It's the fact you know it.
It's the fact that I know it. It's the fact that I am one. What would you do if I just lifted up my top and revealed like a full chest piece with the 3 of them just on my chest?
Piss myself. Absolutely piss myself laughing.
As soon as he comes back into it, the film gets like sucked, literally of lifeblood. It gets sucked out of it, and Bella becomes more boring. She literally becomes his bit on his side.
Edward's not in it apart from appearing as a Jedi Force ghost here and there when Bella gets into precarious situations, and then he thinks that she's dead, so goes to kill himself. And in order to kill himself, he has to be ripped to pieces by the Volturi, who are essentially the kind of the vampire royal family, played very menacingly or hammily or camply, depending on your point of view, by the main guy played by Michael Sheen. He wants them to kill him. They say no. He says, well, I'm going to expose myself in public.
They all thought he was going to go outside and reveal he was a vampire. Turns out he just got his knob out in front of a kid.
Bella comes to save him we meet the Volturi, which that bit I actually quite enjoyed. They then go back to Fawkes in a matter of moments.
Yeah.
He says that she's going to turn into a vampire. They have a little bit of a standoff with Jacob in the woods, again, because why would you have a conversation in a regular location? And then he asks her to marry him and the film ends.
I was surprised, actually, that the difference between the first one and this one. The effects look slightly better. There was more going on. I was marginally more interested in this one than anything that happened in the first film.
This one had considerably less Edward.
Yeah, I think that could be... You might have hit the nail on the head there.
Considerably less Edward and considerably more Jacob.
Yeah, he comes across as a much more interesting character than Edward. He goes off a bit off the rails towards the end and gets a bit dickheadish. But no, he was just more interesting. And yeah, she's slightly more interesting in this. She seems slightly more animated in this film, Bella, than she did in the first one. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I enjoyed this film, but in comparison to the first one, I enjoyed this film. It was as an underwhelming ending as the first one.
But it's because at that point that movie was made, everyone knew there was a third one.
This one felt like she was writing, and then they went, come on, we need the next film. And she went, you know what, marry me, full stop. Do that, film that, and I'll write the next one. And
yeah,
then she started
I'll carry on.
That's literally what the ending feels like. It was, and you know what's even more ridiculous about the ending is the fact that she has just committed her life to becoming a vampire, yet the marriage question is the question you're meant to go,
yeah, I kind of felt like that at the end. It's just like, well, what if you're agreeing to turn her into a vampire, why do you need to fucking get married? Surely the fact that she just went, okay, I will literally die for you. Do you know what? I don't quite believe you're serious enough. Do you mind if we got married? You know, just to properly cap it off.
I recall from the books that's more about him and him being comfortable with the situation because he is old. He is from another time, and it's kind of. There's a thing
that's the done thing.
Yeah. So it's more about that. So it's kind of, and again, it comes back to this sort of faux abstinence story that seems to run through it, which is I will not bite your neck and turn you into a vampire until we're married. In the same way as I will not, we will not do the deed until such time as we're married.
Is she a Christian?
Who, the writer?
Yeah.
The writer?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And not that it's mutually exclusive, but quite often abstinence and sort of the waiting until you're married to have sex thing is quite often associated with Christianity or just religions in general.
But then I can't say, as I've found in my extensive research of reading the Wikipedia page about this, about her writing it, it doesn't actually specifically mention anything about that. So I don't know if that's stuff that has sprung up where other people have overlaid meaning, and it is in fact just what Robert Pattinson said, which is this is just her fantasy of how she'd like to be double teamed by a vampire and a werewolf.
This is a film about a toxic relationship.
Yeah, it is, and plays it as though, so far, I mean, it could take a twist as it goes on. I don't think it does from what I know, but it could take a twist and actually she realises and he pushes away from it, but I don't see that happening. Even when he buggers off, he's still involved. Well, no, I don't think you should be doing that.
The weird thing about those visions. At the beginning, I was kind of thinking, is she just remembering things and conversations that they had?
Yeah, like, is this in her head?
Yeah. And then later on, he actually speaks to her.
Yeah.
When
lie better.
When she sees Lauren.
Yeah, who dies kind of off screen but not, because you do sort of see it, but you see it happen a hell of a lot later, and it's like,
in more detail.
That's a shame.
But I couldn't give a shit that those two are dead out of three. They are the least interesting antagonists I've ever seen in any form. I was kind of surprised they brought them back in any way. But werewolves in this film, way more interesting than vampires.
Yes, because they have emotion. I think that's the biggest difference, is the vampires seem to have sucked all their emotion out of them, whereas the werewolves are full of aggression.
Yeah. One of the things I said to Tina as we were watching it, I think it was the scene in the house where everyone's obviously got their tops off because they're all very warm, but where they're all there kind of in the house as a family. And I turned to Tina and said, I like them. There's a warmth to what they're doing. I enjoy watching them. Like some of the dialogue's still pretty pants.
Yeah.
But the dynamic between them and just the general atmosphere that is created around them, I was like, this is not like I like.
It's
I want
like
to
a
see
bit fun.
the movie about these guys. Turns out Jacob is descended from werewolves, becomes a werewolf because Victoria is still bumbling about from the first movie trying to get her hands on Bella.
Jacob gets a much bigger role in this one. But Jacob also doesn't have great acting skills. And
Not the best.
I don't know that I agree.
At points, he's a bit bad. Earlier in the film, when he's less aggressive and he's a bit more playful with that, I thought he was okay, actually.
Yes, that's better. When he's having fun and smiling, he's better. When he has to then put some emotion behind stuff, it comes off very plain.
It gets a bit Andram.
Amdram, he goes really just plain because he doesn't want to overdo it, or then he goes Amdram with it.
I think it's because for the majority of those parts, he's playing opposite Kristen Stewart, and I find her, like, I know you said that the character kind of, develops a bit in this, and there's a bit more to her, and sort of more happens. I still find her to just be incredibly irritating. Just fuck off telling him you can't run after vampires because vampires will kill you. You've just seen him turn into a fucking werewolf. How do you know what's going to happen? Just stop interfering and shut up. Everything about it, I didn't find him that bothersome because I found her she irks me in such a way.
Yeah, she really doesn't.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
I don't get the hate that she received from these films because I do think people are struggling with separating her from the character, and I think her character is so plainly boring in the first film.
So to be fair, Bella Swan irritated me in the book.
Oh right, I thought you were saying.
I don't particularly like the way Kristen Stewart plays her. But I think Kristen Stewart plays her pretty much as she's written.
I think the direction is better in this. I especially liked the bit where he shows her the picture and the camera zooms in and it becomes real life video and it's them acting out.
You said that in the notes. I didn't notice that. I might have just not been paying attention.
You snoozed off. It was very early on.
So if you're enjoying what you're watching so far, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe it, ding the little bell so you get your notifications. Thank you very much. Why are you looking at me like that?
What?
I thought it was kind of a bit weird. I mean, it was good that he ditched the dodgy wig. Jacob.
That really started to look bad in a few scenes.
It really did. Obviously, it was noticeable in the first film, but it was more so in this. But I thought it was weird that when he became a vampire, he then became he
werewolf.
lost his hair. You'd think it would be the other way around, like all of a sudden because he's a werewolf, he's just developed all this hair. I would have said, and that would have made more sense and could have had a bit more of an impact.
I think the reason they didn't do it is because I don't think long hair was in right then. I think all the kids had short, spiky hair like Edward.
Why give him the hairstyle in the first place?
Because this is about sex appeal for teenage girls. So they
because
were like,
obviously long hair is not sexy.
I think he has the hair in the book.
For teenage girls then, no, it was short, spiky hair like they all have.
I'm always a little bit disappointed when people... I know it was just a shit wig, but I'm always a little bit disappointed when people cut their hair off. It's like, I thought you were committed.
Chris, do you reckon if you cut your hair short and stood out in the rain, you'd suddenly look like...
No.
Do you think that's all it takes?
Certainly.
Because he looked incredible.
He did look incredible. When he was in that field, when he had cut his hair, I am a straight man, but when he cut his hair and he was standing in that field, I was like, bloody hell. Like, well done, mate. Like, you look great. Like, you just look good. I can't deny it. And then I realised that every scene he was in, he was topless. I think there are more scenes in this where he is topless than he has a top on.
We mentioned in the first one how quickly Edward just gave up the vampire secret to her.
Yeah.
In this one, like, they were like, oh yeah, it's a secret society of werewolves, only, you know, this and that and blah, blah, blah. She pisses one of them off, instantly turns into a werewolf and just charges at her.
It's weird that they added the scene before where she works it out. It would have been better if, like Chris kind of thought, really, she turns up, has a go at those guys, slaps him, he turns into a wolf, and then her mate turns into a wolf. That would have been better than her having that weird dream sequence where she remembers the old story that was told on the beach, and she's like, oh yeah, he's a werewolf.
Yeah. So it might have been better in kind of filmic terms, but they've essentially kind of, you know, fan service in keeping it aligned to the books. And in the books, Sam, who is the alpha male in that pack, if he gives them an order, they can't break it. Not because they're not allowed to, they actually can't break it. And he tells them, you cannot tell her. He's told Jacob, you cannot tell her you're a werewolf. But then Jacob tells her enough information for her to work it out based on what he had told her beforehand. And then once she's worked it out, the secret is out and everything is fine. So yeah, Tom, you are right. It would have worked much better from a film perspective. But there's kind of all of these nods in it to what happens in the books that when they've got the context and the room to breathe in the books, they work better.
They're sort of coming together, even though that's not really what happens. Felt way more natural and organic than her and Edward.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Their brief friendship in this is far better than anything we've seen, I think, from Edward and Bella.
Yeah, totally.
Completely. And despite his slight anger issues, and this is what becomes weird, because now we're talking about someone and two toxic boyfriends that you can become a team of, which is so weird, because do you want aggressive Jacob, who is hot, literally, and shirtless quite a lot, or do you
But if
want...
he loses his temper, could rip you to pieces.
Yeah. Or do you want Edward, who could also rip you apart and suck your blood, but also is a massive stalker as well. Yeah. He's also way older than her. Still don't like it.
The unfortunate thing is that we know from this movie, or we knew from the first one, but this one really underlines Bella is Team Edward. She says to Jacob, "Don't make me choose because I'll choose him."
He tried. They almost kiss, and then the phone rings, and then it's Edward.
Yeah, but you never feel. Yeah, it's Edward, but you never feel like. Because you feel like she's kind of forced into that kiss slightly, because he follows her into the kitchen and just stands next to her. After, I'm pretty sure she has said, like, we are just friends and I need you as friends. I'm pretty sure there's been that conversation not far from this. And then Jacob does the biggest dickish thing that Jacob has done so far, and that is not to tell Bella that Jacob has rung on the phone.
You wouldn't know, would you?
Edward has rung. Get your names right.
Sorry, because Edward had rung. And then, by the way, rung from Brazil? Is he in Brazil?
Was it Brazil?
Yeah, bearing in mind they were in Washington State because it was so cloudy and rainy and stuff. Why on earth would you go to Brazil?
That's what I found really bizarre. That's why I was like, why is he in Brazil? Like,
I don't know.
There were so many other places he could have gone because he doesn't want to show off his skin. He's so upset about that in the first film. And then he's like, I'll go to Brazil. Jacob puts the phone down and then goes, it was Edward or whatever. And then Bella goes, why didn't you let me speak to him? And he goes, he didn't ask for you.
Oh, I like that.
Phoned her house. Phoned her house.
He didn't specifically ask you, Bella, so...
But I think, again, that was just they needed some conflict at that point. They needed to
create this this fake Romeo and Juliet situation to make it seem like their love is deeper than it is, and that the writing is deeper than it is, that they can conduct this. It's just awful. It's so... It's bad. It just seems like the main family are all so soft that nothing is interesting about them.
No, nothing.
Not really.
Carlisle. I would say Carlisle was the most interesting one, just because, like, well, why did you do this? Why did you turn away from it? What drove you to do that? We know from the beginning of the film, isn't it, that he was involved with the sort of vampire royals and has left. Yeah, and I can confirm, actually, you said about Jasper, I did see him blink in this one.
Oh, does he do that?
Good.
Yeah, please. That's character development as far as I'm concerned.
I love Jasper.
He looked less like he needed a poo for the entire movie.
When they do a family scene, Jasper or Rosalie are the ones I'm waiting for to say something. Because Jasper is weird and is going to literally, the sight of blood's going to just go crazy. He's just not ready for that lifestyle. And then you've got Rosalie, who just, no matter what, if you want someone to go against Belle, she's the one. She's the one to sort of do it. But she talks the most sense. None of the CGI in this made me laugh, which I think that would be ruining then the film for you. Whereas at the moment it's like, it's all kind of fine. And they got rid of all of kind of those terrible running shots. They don't seem to exist in this one.
Well, they just blurred them. Someone's clearly watched that first one and we need to do something about that because that looks awful. So they just blurred them. I think it's just a clever way of making it look better, just to blur them a bit. You're adding to the effect of them moving quickly and you don't have to see their legs go like this as they go...
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get why they've done it, but I don't see why you couldn't have them move at normal speed and make everything around them look like it was going in slow motion. So you can actually see what they're doing.
I imagine that's harder to do. You need.
I'm sure it is. But this has come long after things like bullet time, and so it's not like we're talking about new techniques that need to be employed. There's definitely.
I suppose if they're low budget, which is, I assume these are low budget, but are they low budget?
They're not. I don't think they're low budget. They're made quickly. The first one was 2008. The second one was 2009. The third one was 2010.
You've got to get in before all those teenage girls stop being teenagers anymore and realise this is shit. So let's bang, 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 bang.
It's less around the amount of money they had to spend on it and more around the amount of time in which they did it that probably led to some of those decisions being made around kind of how those things looked and worked. And for example, the one of the cliff diving, it's from a distance, isn't it? The distance shot is the one that looks really shit.
It's bad.
And they've probably just sort of gone, doesn't really matter, does it? It's fine. It's good enough.
I think just as I was watching it, it stuck out enough for me that it made me giggle.
I noticed it. I thought, that's bad. Surely it would have been easy just to have got them to jump off a cliff, off a sensible cliff, jump.
Yeah,
like it was far
cliff.
away enough. You could have had stuntmen do it as well. Like, I mean, it wouldn't have. All you're doing is a coffin drop into the water.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's rocky and that you can't in that area. I don't know, but
then you find a location where you can do it and then cut around it. Like it's all of those things are,
we don't have
eminently
the time.
Achievable. Yeah,
the girls are growing up.
Yeah, quick. Their minds are gonna start developing and they'll realise this is bollocks.
The dad once again is an absolute angel.
I thought he was warmer in this film. In the first one, I think he was too cold and it didn't quite come off well enough. Whereas this one, there was a little bit more charm in him.
I agree. I think that is slightly his arc as a character because it feels like the first one, he's so unsure about how to be with this 17-year-old girl he doesn't really know. And everything that comes along with a 17-year-old girl, such as werewolf boyfriends. And then in the second one, he's tries to be slightly more authoritarian with her because he realises that she runs away and he's like, look, you're grounded, for the rest of your life, and he sort of makes a joke out of it. But he's trying to be that. But he's also, I think, more confident with her, and there's a bit more of a banter
you feel like their relationship has developed and they've got to know each other a bit better, don't you?
Yeah, and he still is the most mistreated person in this. Like, he deals with so much with her. When she's crying in the middle of the night and screaming out for Edward, and he has to go up there and go, oh, you're right, oh, yeah, That guy you knew for a couple of weeks, yeah. Bella spends the summer with Jacob fixing up 2 bikes. Well, not the summer, but it feels like a substantial amount of time
period
they're
of
fixing
time,
up. Yeah, there's a montage, I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
where she throws a pizza and all of a sudden it's like...
And it turns into a spanner.
She gets on it once while she's having these hallucinations without a helmet. She obviously... It's a bad accident. It does look bad. Give it credit. And then she's like, yeah, we're done with bikes. Just done. This little hobby we've had, I'm over it completely.
Did you notice that when she rides off the motorbike, obviously, like, she clearly, they want to make it seem like she's got a bit of speed. Her hair barely moves.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
There's a little bit, but considering how far she's supposed to be going on a motorbike without a helmet on, it's just like...
I'm also really keen to see Face Punch.
Yeah, I was more interested by that film than this one.
Well, apparently, the action is so bad that a 17-year-old boy could be sick from it.
I want to see it, man.
But he is a complete marshmallow. I mean, they could have just changed that on set, couldn't they?
They really could have. Like, no one... But I think she thinks she's being clever. Because I think she's like, you could definitely get a film... There's a film called Shoot 'Em Up. It's like, I feel like she's the sort of person... There's a film
called Face Off and there's a film called Sucker Punch.
Yeah,
Sucker Punch.
Donkey Punch.
So, it feels... I think she's also mocking it whilst trying to be clever, but at the same time you're like, it's in no way...
It just sounds dumb.
It sounds like the first thing you thought of rather than it's a clever play on fighting words.
It's a shame that lockdown's happening because I really would like to make a trailer for... whatever that film, Space Punch. I feel like we could have a good stab at that.
There was more happening than the first. I don't know whether story-wise it's as logical, but you know, it's... And they try and put this dumb Romeo and Juliet thing in as though she's deep because she's copying Shakespeare. That was bad. So, Christopher, last time you were Team Jacob?
Yeah. Just because he featured less in the film than Edward.
Solid reason for the first one. We're now on the second film. We've seen a lot more of Jacob. What team are you?
I'm still Team Jacob. He's way more interesting, more emotive, and actually I thought the werewolves were much cooler than the vampires in this film.
Dave, you decided you didn't want to pick a team last time just to be difficult.
No, I didn't think there was enough to pick a team on because we didn't have that third point of the triangle. I'm Team Jacob all the way because Jacob is he's the only one that strikes me as having any kind of feelings for Bella.
Yeah.
So if I have to pick a team on which which one do I want Bella to ultimately end up with? If I'm honest, I'm still Team Mike because I think the marshmallow would be far better for her. You know, she's the unluckiest. How unlucky are you to fall in love with a vampire and then have that vampire leave you, and then the guy that you befriend in order to get over the vampire turns out to be a fucking werewolf?
Can you imagine if there was a third one and it turned out it was Frankenstein's monster? I mean, like, what is wrong with me?
I am Team Jacob, 100%. Even last time I was Edward because by default Edward was so terrible at the things he admitted to doing and wanted to do to her. Like, he never says, I really like the way you do this. He just wants to eat her blood. She's so alluring and he can't read her mind. I don't think that's a basis for a relationship. Whereas Jacob seems to actually enjoy her company and likes her and likes her for her. He's got that aggressive streak that I'm worried about. He's going to hit her one of these days.
Yeah,
I'm slightly worried. I mean,
had
the way
a
that
few
other
too
boy,
many sellers.
Yeah, he does act like that. Out of the cinema, he was like, and I was like, oh god, he's going to hit her.
Yeah.
If anyone said they were Team Edward after this point, I would honestly think they were crazy or they had no understanding of what they just saw, because that is ridiculous. If you liked this, please do give it a like and subscribe, because we're doing all of them.
Doing all of these, doing all of some other stuff.
It's going to be
We're going to do
painful.
loads. Yeah, there's a back catalogue
every single minute of it.
Stuff. Yeah. If you like and subscribe now, you could be.
You could witness someone have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because of this film.
I'm not going to lie, the internet thrives off that kind of stuff, though, Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially
if there's anything that's going to make us go viral, it's you doing a Britney and just fucking shaving your head.
Yeah.
During Breaking Dawn Part 1, and then, just,
plausible.
Taking your glasses off and just snapping them and disappearing.
I'm not going to rule it out. I can't.
Yeah.
It would be foolish.
Right, I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Right, bye everyone.
Bye.